Yo, what's going on? I'm Marcus, and if you're new to the channel, here we're talking financial literacy, financial education, current events, and attorney reactions. If you haven't, definitely hit that subscribe button below so you can become a part of the Intellectual Savage family. Yo, now it's time to pay some bills, and this financial news is brought to you by Zanoto Media. We all know that debt can be difficult. One of the reasons I started this channel because I wanted to share some of my struggles and victories with debt. We know that being in a lot of debt can lead to stress, it can lead to anger, it can lead to a feeling of hopelessness, and it can definitely impact your relationships. So, one of the smartest things you can do is find an established program that can help you pay down debt, improve your financial independence, and definitely help you make progress with your overall financial well being. There's no shame in understanding the issues that come with debt, and now is the time to remove the stigma. So, before considering bankruptcy, know there are established programs like National Debt Relief that can definitely help. So, how does National Debt Relief work? Certified debt specialists develop a plan based on the client's personal financial situation. Clients make monthly deposits into a federally insured savings account that is set up by National Debt Relief but under their control. National Debt Relief's experts advocate on the client's behalf with creditors and banks, reducing the client's total debt amount. Once the client approves the results, National Debt Relief helps set up a payment to those creditors and banks, reducing the client's total debt amount. See this Forbes review for more insight on this valuable program. Yo, if you think you can benefit from a program like this, click the link in the bio down below in the description box for more information. Okay, so you all have already saw the title, and hey, it is what it is. Your boy received notice that I'm going to be losing my job in 6 months. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it, a little bit about how long I know, what my plans are, what I'm going to do, how we going to adjust. Now, hey, we all know that job loss, especially with everybody talking about recession, every other video of recession and job loss, it's just all this economic fear mongering going on. But we know that job loss is something that can impact anyone at any given time. Actually, I actually have a video where I lost my job in 2018, 2019, and I didn't have an emergency fund in place. Thank God those days are over, but I wanted to give y'all a little delve into what's going on in DFD's household and how we are trying to make adjustments and preparations so that we can weather a storm if it does get stormy. Okay, now how did you get into this position, DFD? Okay, well, when I initially had started my job, I had two opportunities. Opportunity A was a permanent opportunity that I could have just been in essentially indefinitely as long as I didn't screw anything up and get fired or something to that effect. Opportunity B was something that had a time frame of potentially 2 to 3 years. Now, when it comes to jobs and something that I want to do every day, it has to be something that I'm going to be able to enjoy. Now, I know a lot of people will disagree. They'll say, hey, DFD, you got a family and obligations. You should take the sure thing. Well, it's hard for me, and I've been blessed with one, I had some options, but two, if it's a job that I don't enjoy doing or I'm not passionate about, I don't care what the pay is. I'm not going to enjoy doing it. After 12 to 16 months, I'm going to want to get the hell out of there. I'm going to be tired of the job. So I elected to take the opportunity that had a time frame, it had a term applied to it, but it was a much more interesting job. And like I said, I enjoy the job. The ratio I give for my job is 80 to 20%. 80% of the time, it's a great job. There's no worries, there's no stress. 20% of the time, things pick up, things become urgent, stress levels are elevated. But for the most part, 80% of the time, you can pace yourself, you can control your own workflow. So that's one of the reasons why y'all saw I made a lot of progress last year when it came to paying off debt. But this year, we haven't done a lot of student loan debt payoff update videos. That's another reason why I've been trying to bolster the emergency fund to get it up to 6 months and all of these type of things. Because I knew that at some point there was a potential for my job opportunity to come to an end. So I wanted to be prepared. I started this job in 2020. the same time, we really kind of started our debt freedom journey. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take this job. But while I'm in this job, I'm going to try to capitalize to put myself and my family in a better financial position. That's why we paid off the credit cards, the TSP loan, the department store loans, the car loans. We eliminated all of those debts to now where we just have a student loan and a mortgage. So we're in a lot better position to move forward in the event that I can't find something immediate or right away. Now, the other thing is, am I concerned about not being able to find a job? I mean, yes, but yes and no. Because one, I do have opportunities that are currently in the hopper. So there's a strong possibility that, when that time frame come, I'm just going to transition from one job to the next. So, so far so good. I just have opportunities and options that are available. The other reason that I'm really not worried about it is because we reduce the risk by getting rid of our debt. So we're in a much better position. Now we actually have an emergency fund that's stashed away. And I also have what I call a backup emergency fund. Well, DFD, what is a backup emergency fund? Well, a backup emergency fund is essentially leave that you can accrue. Anytime I'm at a job, I always strive to try to have so much leave that I carry over a balance into the next year. You know why? Because if I max out the maximum amount of hours of leave that I can have, in the event that there's job loss or something like that comes up, I know that I have a couple months of pay based on that leave that I have stored away that's going to also put me in a position to carry me over, kind of like a backup emergency fund. So I'm in a much better position. My family's in a much better position now than the last time I lost my employment. Plus, I also have some options available. One of the things that's really common for attorneys to do in the event that they're transitioning from one job to the next, they can do contract work, and depending on your skill set, what it is, if you're in pharmaceutical or the medical malpractice or what it is, you can do contract work for a temporary period. The last time I lost my job some years ago, that's what I did. I was really out of work for about 60 days. During that time, I just did some contract work just so I wasn't spending all of the money that, I kind of had to actually use to pay the bills. So it was able to, it was like having imagine being on a boat and the boat had a leak in it, but it was a small leak. I had a pail and I was able to throw the water out. So I did that contract work for probably 60 days before I started my new job. So that's something that's always an option. Um, but it's just something that we have to deal with. Everybody in my family is already on notice. So we took mechanisms to reduce our risk, to put ourselves in a position to where if things get stormy, we can actually weather the storm. But like I said, we do have options and opportunities that are on the table. So it's a lot less stressful now than it was the previous time where I lost my employment. So that's kind of a blessing. So you got to be optimistic about things. You have to really look at where you are and how prepared you are. And I'm gonna just keep it a buck. We're as prepared as we possibly could have been. Well, you could always be more prepared, but we're really in a good place now. So if that opportunity doesn't come into fruition right away, we're okay. We can hold things over. So that's kind of the position where we are. That's kind of why I haven't been making as many videos on the debt payoff, because right now we've really been focused on just kind of stashing our ends away, stacking the emergency fund up, and just making sure we have that cushion or that nest egg to lean on in the event if things get stormy or there's a longer than anticipated holdover period before I transition from one place of employment to the next place of employment. Um, that's pretty much it. Job loss is something that everybody has to deal with. It was something that I was willing to do. Like I said, I would much rather have a temporary job that I enjoy doing for 2 to 3 years than have a job that can be indefinite, but I hate doing it or I really don't like that type of work. That just wouldn't have me in a good headspace. I would have been coming on here probably making videos complaining complaining about my job or something to that effect. But I don't do any of those things. I enjoy my work, and I have an opportunity in front of me that I could definitely capitalize on. I think that's kind of the brunt of this conversation. Um, it's not anything that really stresses me out. Do I think about it? Yeah, I think about it, but I don't think about it from a point of fear. It's more so of a place of, I guess, optimism. Like, which opportunity is going to open itself up first? Which opportunity, if all of them come into fruition, which one would I rather take? So, I mean, that's a blessed position to be in. But sometimes you got to understand, sometimes if you do have a job loss, it takes time to get back into a job that's comparable to what you were making. That was something that I had to deal with when I lost my job in 2018, 2019, whenever it was. I lost that job. I had to kind of find a temporary job for 60 days until another opportunity came through that was able to pay me a comparable salary. But over that 60 days period, I probably made 70 to 75% of what I was actually making at the job that I got terminated from. But like I said, I knew that that job was kind of a placeholder, if you will. So, hey, if I can do anything to generate some income just to kind of hold things over so I wasn't using all the little bit of money we may have had in the account at the time, that was kind of the game plan. But now I probably still do the same thing because you know what you'll find is when you build up an emergency fund, you really I don't know about y'all, but when I build up my emergency fund, I really try to find all other avenues and all other means to pay for an expense or cover something before going into that emergency fund. So I would much rather, if I lost my job today and I went 60 days without a job, I would much rather do some temporary employment making 75% of what I was making just to kind of not have to completely rely on those funds that were in the emergency fund. Because if I'm making 75% of what I was making, we aren't over leveraged. We don't spend more than we make. So 75% of what I was making will probably have me in a good position where all our essentials could get paid. We won't miss anything, and it just kind of operates like clockwork. But I wanted to give y'all this moment of truth and this update on what was going on at DFD's household with our finances. And the other thing is, I appreciate everybody who's supporting the channel, who's supporting the content. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on how this situation plays out. But for the time being, I know that this date is coming. There's opportunities on the table, and we have prepared, so we aren't gonna be completely assed out on that day where I have to, pack up everything in the office, so to speak. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the content on the screen. There's going to be more content related to finances and attorney reactions of current events.